Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. We're listening to a special edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. We are live at the Cal State University San Marcos 2025 Social Mobility Symposium. Spotlight on the Community Show is the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're now in our 19th year. We are honored to have in the studio with us today Cipriano Vargas. He is a school board member of the Vista Unified School District. How you doing, Cipriano?
I'm doing good. It's a good day to be at a social mobility symposium, filled with, great minds and obviously, taking lessons learned on how we can do, and better support our students across, K through 12 and higher education.
No, we're absolutely going to delve more into that, joined by the associate producer of the Spotlight on the Community Show, Brandon Joe. He's a junior at UCSD. He's also the CEO, young CEO of Treasure Hacks. Brandon, always good to have you co-host with me.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Absolutely, over. We'll get right to it. What got you interested in being a school board member? When did this light bulb hit you?
Yeah, it's an interesting story because, we mentioned that, Devin Bodishka.
I do.
Back in the day in 2012, I was a student here at Cal State San Marcos. I was also a student trustee for the university system. With that being said, I was a student activist, did my actions to, speak up and making sure that the state and, the Board of Trustees didn't raise student tuition. At the same time, one of my other internships was under, Devin Bodishka, and, seeing what the role of superintendent is. And so I got to interact with school board members. And so a little seed was planted at that time that maybe one day, I would be a school board member. And so little did I know that, 4 years later, I would come back from Texas after teaching kindergarten over there. And, the opportunity would present itself where I decided to run. And for me, it's about, being a community voice. I'm a graduate of Vista Public Schools. And so I saw all the great things that quality schools, that good teachers, that good systems did for me. And I wanted other students to have those same opportunities and better opportunities than I had.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate. The Classroom of the Future Foundation, which works really closely with Cloudcast Media and the founder and CEO of Cloudcast Media, Charles Parisi, to work with all the schools. We do a program called Superintendents Unplugged, where we interview all of the county superintendents. But Vista is near and dear to me because I've known so many of the superintendents there. I'm going to date myself now, but Renee Townsend was a superintendent. I'm not sure if you knew Renee. She was just a delight, was on the Avid board with me and so forth. And then Devin, of course, and Matt Doyle. But thank you for your service. People think, what do these school board members do? They do a lot. And matter of fact, they control 20% each vote of the vote and the direction of where the students are going. Talk about how that's an important role you have.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Vista Unified right now has a $390 million budget. It's actually bigger than the city of Vista. And, we employed over 1,500 individuals. So we know every year we get to decide on things, like school modernization, to curriculum, to staff salaries, to, positions within the school district. So anything from bus drivers to instructional aides to summer programs. And think about that, all that has a direct impact in our community. And so for me, coming into this position is also, what are the missing gaps? COVID brought us, a lot of challenges, but with the federal government infused for the first time ever a significant amount of money to try and, remedy some of the impacts on education. So, that funding is expiring this year, but, a lot of it to expand after school courses, summer school programs, hire additional teachers, making sure that, we hire mental health and other support services for our students. And so literally, we are not just schools in 2025. We are places where, parents come to, get access food, where, our kids get mental health services, where, in the past, the typical, just teaching is, the bare minimum. Now, we're doing above and beyond that because our students deserve it.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Brandon?
I'm just so curious because you mentioned, at least in holistically, schools help students with and families way more than just the education. And I'm guessing that's one part of a good school or a good school system. What are some other good parts of a good school system that you believe every district should have?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we recently just partnered with Cal State San Marcos is this concurrent enrollment. So our high school students at Rancho Buena Vista are accessing college courses with a college professor and a teacher within Vista Unified, and going into a career that is much needed. I also work for the County of San Diego, so let me tell you, we need thousands of mental health workers across the region, and so to get college credit at the high school level and then come into Cal State San Marcos with those college credits earned, that means you're going to graduate faster. That means you're going to go into a career that is needed and that you have job security and that pays well. And so for me, it's that full circle of making sure that we're being innovative, that, when we send our kids to college, that they are prepared, but also that, we set them up for success, because the worst thing that we can do is when we send a student to college and they're not ready and they're not prepared and they don't know the system, guess what? We're breaking those barriers at the high school level.
It's dual enrollment is so cool, and some areas do it a little bit better than others. As far as I'm concerned, I think every single place in the United States should be doing it. And you're so spot on. Here you are. You potentially can graduate high school with an AA degree, or whatever the degree is. Whether it's working with Palomar, it's working with Cal State San Marcos. I think that's fantastic.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
But I do want to share something. We're chatting with Cipriano Vargas. He's the school board member at Vista Unified School District. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to a special edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, doing great things in San Diego County. We are at the Cal State University San Marcos 2025 Social Mobility Symposium. So we were chatting right before the show, Cipriano. We both share something. You didn't like to speak up in class, did you?
I was the kid that sat in the back of the classroom and, hoped that the teacher didn't pick on me. Absolutely.
You and I were brothers from a different mother, because I did the same thing. And it was like, don't call on me. And then you try to do all these routines. There's no way the teacher's going to know. I'm just going to put the book over my head, right? Do all the tricks that we know. And of course, the teacher's looking at that. Then they call on you and all that. I took a speech class, thanks to my dad making it. Now you can't get me off a podcast, for God's sake. What broke it for you? What got you to now, I want to do what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny story because, growing up low income, my parents didn't go on vacations. We didn't take trips abroad or, got to explore even, places here in our own county.
That's right.
My field trips was going to, the local swap meet on the weekends, to Escondido, so that was my vacation. But one program at Vista High School, the Future Farmers of America, and I love the program. I served as the chapter president for 1 year. And guess what? They would take us to different universities, different colleges, different school districts for different competitions. And so, for me, I did public speaking, vegetable judging, animal judging, and I got to, practice my public speaking. I didn't do it so much for the public speaking. I did it because I got to explore, different places that were otherwise wouldn't have been available to me. And so when we talk about social mobility, that program itself opened doors. I got to go to Warner Springs. I got to go to Cal Poly Pomona, Fresno State, do, competitions at MiraCosta College. And so the world was open to me. And, I am so blessed for that program because, public speaking has benefited me in every single way, shape, and form since, being in those classes.
So talk about how Vista Unified School District really shines a light on social mobility.
I would say we're finding ways where we're bridging the gap. One other example that was just recognized by the San Diego Economic Chamber is our internship programs. Every single year for the last 2 years, 100 of our students get to partner with local industry leaders and get to see what it means to work in some of these industries, whether that be, the local biotech industry, whether that be some of the social media communication companies in town, or, interning for the superintendent. And when you think about many of our students who are first generation, these are jobs that they don't know. And so we're helping bridge the gap from the classroom into the local industry. And, whether these kids decide to go into this industry or not, but at least now they have that option available. Or if they decide to go to college, and we all know this happens, that most of our college students stay in the region, but oftentimes they don't work in the major that they graduate. And so it helps bridge that gap. And, with that, that's another opportunity where students are practicing public speaking, communication. And let me tell you, those kids that have those internships are going to be way, way better off when they start college, when they start looking for other internships, because they're going to have something under their belt.
No question. Brandon?
I mean, it's overall, any of the opportunities that are delivered to those who do not is something that's, I think, is beautiful that we can do. And so with all these programs that you get to talk about and that you are able to deliver through the program that you're a part of, what is the most beautiful thing that you have seen or have been a part of as your position?
Yeah, I mean, so Rancho Buena Vista, we opened up a career technical education facility through the last bond that we passed. And these kids, have an opportunity to go into apprenticeship programs. And guess what? These are smart kids. Maybe they weren't, so good at testing.
Right.
Some of them are good at, at other academics, but they find a love in working with their hands, from building tiny homes to doing, the welding for, the e-bikes on the different campuses across the district, or the outdoor furniture. And most recently, we partnered with the San Diego Workforce Partnership and the San Diego County Building Trades Council to provide that program for people that are over 18. It's like a 3-month program, and connecting them once again with the building industry leaders. And to me, we focus on college, and absolutely we should open up the doors for any student. But for the students that also want to go into the trades, opening up those doors, and guess what? Get that good income that, starting off as an electrician or welder, 30, 35, 40, 45 an hour. And guess what? Those students are going to be better off because of that income, because of those opportunities, having access to healthcare, having access to a pension. And so to me, we're breaking that cycle of poverty and giving students the opportunity so that they can be self-sufficient and, be better off individuals in our community.
Everything you talk is in the wheelhouse of what we believe in at Cloudcast Media and our Spotlight show. We work very closely with the Classroom of the Future Foundation. That's in the DNA. And now with the County Office of Education, the new superintendent is on our board, and she's just a delight. Gloria Cerisa and Paul Gothold started this, the North Star concept, and you know what I'm talking about, Cipriano, and that is trying to reduce poverty by a pretty big percentage in tenure. But what you're talking about absolutely does that without question. One of the things I think that's great, you were just certainly a good role model for it. So if students think, well, how can I do this? All I have to say is that any student can succeed in this world. Talk about how important that mindset has to be with everybody who touches education.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I remember, being a student in Vista Unified, and I never knew that there was a university in our backyard, Cal State San Marcos. And so the very first time I set foot on this campus was my senior year when I was applying to college. If I would have known about the university earlier on, it would have been a game changer. And so one thing I appreciate about the university is that they're also being more proactive, not just reaching kids when they're seniors, reaching kids when they're in middle school,
TK,
in high school, and in elementary school.
Absolutely.
There's an event coming up, STEM Fest, coming up on March 5th here at the university. And they invite all the families, come learn about science, come learn about the opportunities. But guess what? To have a 6, 7-year-old come to campus and see themselves reflected and, envisioning that they can one day come to this beautiful university is a game changer. And we know that, when you open up those doors, people are going to find a way to make it happen. And so I think, as we bridge the gap, both, at the K through 12, making sure students apply for financial aid, that they know the A through G requirements. The universities are also doing that. And it's not just, Cal State San Marcos. We have a lot of great programs also at the community college, other, initiatives and our students that go on to UCSD, USD, or San Diego State. And I would say, all those opportunities are becoming more accessible and more visible because I'm seeing it in my own community. The people that are first generation that came to this university, they're doctors now, they're lawyers, they are policymakers, they work for the chamber. And guess what? We're helping bridge that gap that, ultimately is leading to more economic prosperity for all of our community.
And they're staying here. And they're staying here, which is also pretty big. Listen, thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. Cipriano Vargas is the school board member of Vista Unified School District. What can our listeners do to support your efforts, not just in Vista, but in North County and the community as a whole?
Yeah, definitely advocating at the state and federal level for more funding. When you invest in the CSU, it's a return on investment, but also, simple things, one thing that I didn't speak about, but is, the access to earlier childcare education. As a former kindergarten teacher, I could see, the kids that came in knowing how to read, knowing their letter sounds, knowing how to count to 1 to 10. And that was a game changer because those kids, tend to, get ahead. But by expanding early childhood care, it's also helping out, all of our students because, the better our students are prepared, the more likely they're going to succeed and, read at grade level and go on to middle school and, know how to analyze math that involves, writing and reading. And then go on to high school and so forth. So it's like, this domino effect, that the more we invest, the better off we are in the long run.
There's no question about it. Well, Cipriano Vargas, Vista Unified School Board member, thank you so much for coming on the program. Brandon, as always, enjoy you being co-host. I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, a special edition brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, 6 decades of doing great things in San Diego County. Our Spotlight Show is the longest running community podcast, now in our 19th year, and we are live at the Cal State University of San Marcos 2025 Social Mobility Symposium. We hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.